All right, welcome back. So today I am on my E46 2001. This is my original car. I'll put a picture in here. Just got new tires, new coilover kit. This one been due for a major service for a long time. I'm at 122,000 miles, 376 as you can see on the odometer. And this weekend, the holiday weekend, I had to go to downtown Los Angeles. So I took this car. Everything was working great. This one just got a new radiator as well. So everything with that was fine. On the way back, after about 4 hours of driving, check engine light popped on. So we're going to look into that today. So I got the scan tool plugged in, and we're going to go ahead and read. Is this your vehicle? 2001 3 Series 330i E46 3.0 automatic. That is us. So system 2 lean, bank 1. I've talked about these codes before. Coolant thermostat. Coolant temperature below thermostat regulating temperature. I know this car's had this for probably about 20 years. It doesn't normally turn on the check engine light. It's just a code that's always stored in there. The current thermostat keeps saying it's stuck open. I think the sensor's bad. Put a new thermostat in it, still gives me the same code. I actually had the dealer fix this about, I want to say 12 years ago. Maybe not even that, maybe about 10 years ago. And it was still in there. So it just doesn't turn on the light. So I'm not too concerned about that coolant stored. System 2 lean, bank 2. So system 2 lean, bank 1. System lean 2, bank 2. Now I've already scanned this. I scanned this a couple days ago, and I cleared all the codes because it had misfire in cylinder number 3, so random misfire code, and it had cylinder misfire number 5 with injection cut. You'll see random misfires when you see this system 2 lean, bank 2 and 1. This is telling me that I have an air leak somewhere. It's a common issue with these things. It could either be a mass air meter bad, or it can be we got a vacuum leak somewhere before the throttle body or intake manifold or something like that. So another way to check, if you have, this is a $300 little handheld scan tool, Blue Point, inexpensive one. You can pick them up anywhere. Code readers don't really give you live data, so this LD is live data. We're going to take a look at some live data. So engine coolant temperature 194. What I'm looking for is the mass air meter. System 2 lean, bank 1. Short-term fuel trim, long-term fuel trim, as you see, they're at 0, 0. Mass airflow sensor. So what you're looking for on the mass airflow sensor is that it does change when you give it gas. So as you see, it is correcting. It's correcting real quick when I blip the throttle. So that's telling me that the mass air meter is not stuck, that most likely the mass air meter is good. Now there is a baro sensor in the mass air meter, which is an altitude sensor, and I've seen those go bad. It's not something you can see on your live data with these little cheap scan tools. You'd actually have to use a high-tech scan tool. But the odds of, and I have seen it in the past where it'll be stuck at, say, 20,000 feet, and or it's stuck, below sea level, and you're at altitude, and it's causing lean conditions. Normally it won't be bank 1 and bank 2. It'll just be a lean condition, and your mass air meter will be stuck a little higher. So mass air meter seems to be working. my assumption, and I haven't looked at this yet, I just wanted to kick on the camera, show you guys what I'm looking at. We're gonna go ahead and come out here and see if we can see anything wrong. So the first thing I normally look for, the easiest thing to look for, is look in here, make sure you have no cracks, make sure your oil cap's on, make sure your dipstick is down. Either of those being off could also cause this. I did have this line go bad and a lost brake, so this is a new line, new saying a couple years old now. But what I'm going to look for is this intake boot. There's a 90-degree down in here, and yes, it is actually ripped. There's a hole in the boot. There's a little tube that comes off down there that goes to the throttle body for the idle, and my idle is surging. It's really low. That bottom boot is ripped. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this stuff off, and we're going to get in here and we're going to have to change that lower boot. But what I would suggest at this point is you can smoke test it. You can pull the air box, you can put a smoke machine in here, and you can smoke it. Another thing you can do is, if you don't have that, you know, you can tape the face of it with a vacuum line or a straw, get yourself a cigar and keep puffing on it and blowing the smoke into the intake. You'll obviously see where it's coming out. That's the cheap way of doing it. I have seen people do that, but smoke machine is the easiest way. If not, just look at it. Look at these vacuum lines. You want to look at, there's a vacuum line coming over here, right in here. You want to make sure that vacuum line, you want to make sure that this, nothing is, you know, ripped. This goes underneath the intake manifold, and there's some plastic lines that go down to this dipstick tube. This is all part of the like PVC recirculating crankcase pressure system, and these do go bad. I did this one about 10 years ago. I want to say the car was at about 70,000 miles, 80,000 miles, and I had to pull the intake and do all that. But I think that's okay. So we're going to start with the boot. I just stuck my finger in there, and we'll get a closer look where the ribs are. I can actually stick my finger, there's a hole in there, it tore. So we're gonna get this off and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here we go. Here's the tear in the little boot. This is the bottom one that goes down there to the throttle body. Got everything out of the way. I do have two new boots. The DISA valve, you can see all the play in the bottom of the DISA valve. The pin's not coming out, but it is wore out at the base. So I'm gonna get one of these ordered up. It'll work for now, so I can get it back on the road. But here's the boot. The 330s are different than the 325s, as I found out. So we are going to get this stuff put back in here. And I'm going to tighten this. This is a 6 millimeter on a swivel. It's the only way to really get to this. So I'm going to snug this up a little bit, and this will align at the bottom. So I'm just making it snug so when I turn it, it'll hold wherever it's at. And then this one goes in there. Snug that up so it just doesn't fall off. So I'm going to try to get all this put back in here. Turn that little boot out of the way for now. Make sure it's all sealed up in there. Like that. And then this is our upper boot, which will need this spacer that's in here. Go. That clipped in there. I'm going to start getting these hose clamps tightened down, and then we're going to change this upper as well because it should be pliable and it's hard as a rock. Transfer the clamps so that they're in the same direction. Just makes it easier when putting it back together. Knows that I know I can get to all the clamps. And then this piece, I'd rather rip the boot than break this adapter. Just like that. But this is a common issue right in here and right down in here. It'll crack. This one normally tears right in here, or it'll tear right in between this honeycomb. But this one's all good. The upper is not that bad, but that's a common issue with the E46s with lean codes. So I'm going to get this all put back together and we'll see how it does. All right, let's reset this thing. Codes are still there. Sure you want to reset it. Erase successful. It's going to auto check, make sure there's nothing in there. All the emissions are reset. No codes. Check engine lights off. Head over to live data. We're going to check our short-term and long-term fuel trims. We're going to check the mass air meter, which is weird because I don't think I plugged in the mass air meter. Nope, I didn't plug in the mass air meter. So it's running on a fail-safe. That's why it could be idling better. Hopefully we don't have a mass air meter code. The idle's already smoother. It's all got to relearn. Yes. No powertrain codes. We're going to run this thing around. The only thing that should really pop on is that thermostat code, but that should not set a check engine light. That code's been in there for years on this thing, ever since I had the DME flashed for the European lights on this thing. That code's been there. Yeah, see, look at short-term fuel trims now. Remember, they were all 0. 27.3 on short-term fuel trims. That's how much it's getting now. At 25 on short term, that'll set a check engine light. It needs to relearn. All right, our short term and everything's gone to 0. Everything's starting to learn. IATs, map is working. Idle's almost perfect now. And make sure everything's good. Vacuum lines are all plugged into. And that's it. As simple as that. We're going to keep the scan tool in the trunk. I'm going to just keep it with me with some basic hand tools, just in case. But it's as simple as that. So, like I've said before, with these BMWs, you see the new coilover kit. I've actually got to check these nuts. But don't be fooled by the codes you get, because the codes this thing puts out, like lean bank 1, lean bank 2, on regular cars, I can't say regular cars, but on American cars, that usually doesn't mean a vacuum leak. And when you get misfire codes on an American car, usually means it is misfiring on that cylinder, that it has to do with spark. With these, when you get a misfire code, it doesn't really mean that it's misfiring because of spark. It could be misfiring because of an air leak. That's the #1 cause with misfires on these cars. But there we go. Just wanted to do a video. I try to show these every now and then so people can keep their E46s on the road. And that's why I post them on this channel. Like I said, this is an automotive RC channel. Some people with RC, they don't understand it. But it's just the way it is. If the views on this stuff start getting better, then I'll make a separate channel for it. But until then, I'll keep posting it on the only channel I have. But there we go. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.